Okay, we're live a little early. Hello, everybody. I'm Jessica Pateau with Remax Allegiance, and my guest today is United States of Whatever, also known as Mike Kuper.
I pulled up my YouTube name.
Awesome. So you can follow Mike on YouTube, United States of Whatever. I have not seen your YouTube channel, so I will.
There's nothing on it.
Okay. So Mike Kuper is my new best friend because he does a lot of things involving waterproofing. So Mike, why don't we start with why waterproofing? What prompted you to go into this business?
I've been working in construction for my entire life. To be honest, I just kind of fell into it. It was just an industry I hadn't worked in yet, and then once I got started doing it, I really enjoyed it. And it's an important industry because, for instance, a lot of what I tell a lot of my clients when they're sort of going back and forth on, why use a specialized company for this one thing, because we all know there's such a thing as general contractors. My dad is a general contractor, has been for 40 years. And he has a great business, and he still calls me or my brother when he has waterproofing needs, because it's very specialized and you need a lot of different skills to be able to implement it properly. Otherwise, there's a lot of people out there who go like, oh, I get the general gist and I'm a general contractor, and then they do it and there's no warranty on it. And when it fails, the homeowner is left with the bill.
Yeah. So that's why you're here. And what are some common signs that homeowners or prospective homeowners can look for in basements, crawl spaces, to determine if there has been or is currently a water issue?
The first thing is a musty smell, right? I think, growing up, we all associated basements with a musty smell. And we sort of just went, that's the way basements smell. But they shouldn't. If there's a musty smell in a basement, then there is, at least in part, a water intrusion issue. That musty smell is actually anything from small amounts to large amounts of mold growth. It could be, off-gassing soil. It could be wood rot, or just dampness and humidity. So that's the first thing to look for. If you have an unfinished basement, the next thing to look for would be discoloration on the walls. That's a sign of moisture. The concrete walls don't just change color on their own. It's usually moisture passing through it and leaching out all of the minerals of the concrete as the water diffuses through it. If you have a finished basement, start looking for discoloration in your trim or your carpet or your tack strips, because that means that they're in constant contact with moisture or humidity.
Okay, so what is the remedy for that if somebody has that problem?
Well, you got to call me, unfortunately. But generally, if any part of your basement, any part of your finished basement has come in contact with any significant amount of water, like your drywall, your framing, your trim, that's got to get ripped out. I'm very sorry to say it, but once drywall gets in contact with water, if it can't be cleaned or dried very quickly, and usually on the back side of it where you don't have access to, once that gets wet, or even if there's humidity back there, you're getting mold. And once you're getting mold and that mold starts to grow, then you have a health issue. So removing it is the first part. But you have to solve the source of the water, and that's when it gets a lot more involved. So generally, if you have water coming through your foundation walls or your floor, it means that there is what's called hydrostatic pressure, right? So it's the same piece in physics that causes a boat to float. It's pressure upward and pressure in from the sides, because the water table actually rises underneath your house when it rains really, really significantly. And then the areas on the side of your house, when it was built, create large pools of water for pressure to actually build up on the walls. Once that starts to leach through, whether it's in the form of moisture or humidity like diffusion, or it's an actual evident leak, then you have to relieve all of that pressure on the walls. And unfortunately, it gets a little bit surgical. You have to actually go in and open some of the floor around the wall and trench it out and install drain pipes and move all of that water around your walls to a sump pump that can then evacuate it outside. So it is surgery on your house, but once you have water, you have a real problem.
Right. So folks, if you have a water issue that happens like right away, for instance, I had an issue in my house where there was water coming from upstairs to my lower level. So the first thing you should do if you have that issue is, get ServPro out, right? So that you prevent this problem that Mike would have to deal with later if you didn't do anything. So when you get water, if you see it right away, you deal with it right away. That's the smart thing to do, because if you don't, you're going to have to call Mike later. Right. So, but yeah, so Mike is also wonderful for me, because, you're great because you can come out when I have a buyer who wants to buy a house and we have a musty smell. And what do you charge for that, Mike, to just come out and take a look at a house?
For you, nothing. If it's a homeowner, absolutely nothing. It's a free estimate. I'll come and take a look at it. I'll inspect it. I'll let you know if there's any issues and what we need to do to fix it. If you are a prospective buyer of a home who is not Jessica's client, because Jessica's a friend of mine, if you're another agent who has buyers who need to look at their home, then it's a $300 inspection fee. We'll give a full report, a full estimate, and you can literally go into buying that home knowing either exactly what you need to do or have the listing homeowner fix the issue before you move in.
Right. So that's another thing that can be helpful when you're buying a house, to have like assessments from professionals. You can't just ask a seller for a bunch of money for no reason. And you can't ask a seller for a bunch of money without like having a reason, like a specific estimate from someone like Mike to say, okay, look, he came out and this is how much it's going to cost. And then that's where you can sort of start to have that negotiation and that discussion with the seller. So Mike, what would be a good referral for you? Who can I send you to?
Anybody who's complained about water issues in their basement to start. I know that's a bit vague though. But specifically, I think I work really well with new home buyers, anyone who's just purchased a home, who's moved in and wants to start really, going gung-ho and fixing the place up. Specifically anybody who's ready to finish their basement. So often, I mean, yesterday I was in a house where new homeowners said, we just finished the basement. We just finished it. I mean, I hear this like once a week, but just yesterday, we just finished the basement. It cost X amount of money, tens and tens of thousands of dollars. And they went, and then there's a water issue and the contractor didn't catch it. And now we have to rip their entire basement out. I'm not joking. The whole thing, like $50,000 down the drain, so they can pay me to waterproof it properly. So then they can pay to have it all put back. It's a gigantic waste of money to finish your basement without waterproofing it. Budget waterproofing into your basement remodel 100% of the time.
Good. Thank you for that. So that's another point about insurance, and I'm going to interview Mike Bushy in the future. But that's another reminder for me to remind my past clients and friends, and even if you haven't bought your house with me, to remember that it's important to call your insurance company when you do upgrade your house, so that you make sure that you're actually covered. So that's, especially if it's something like an addition, you want to make sure that that's covered, especially if somebody went in there and didn't do it right. And I'm not even sure, that's a good question for an insurance person, if that's covered, if it originally wasn't done correctly by a contractor. Do you know the answer to that question?
About the insurance and when it comes to waterproofing?
Right. Yeah.
For legal reasons, I have to say, call your own insurance company. In all the years I've been doing this, I've never seen the insurance company, any of them, and I've argued with many of them, ever cover anyone for basement waterproofing. They won't cover outside in water, is what they say, even with an exclusive like flood or water rider. Your sump pump basically has to fail, and then that causes the flood, and they'll remediate, but they won't install a subfloor pressure relief system. And I do not know why. That's what they've told me, but call your own insurance company.
I think you'd have to get flood insurance, right, to be able to get water issues covered.
Even with flood insurance, I've never seen them cover literally foundation leakage. It's like the same as when like you buy like a new builder house, like you're the first owner. They'll give you like a 1 to 2 year foundation warranty. Well, why? It's because they know they didn't do it right. They did it to code, right? Which is a a cheap drain in the floor that's not pitched towards a well that's usually in the center of the room, which makes no sense. It's just they just did it to pass code. There's no vapor barrier. There's nothing important that would really stop water from getting in. So after about 2 years, I mean, yeah, I waterproof relatively brand new homes all the time.
Wow. So anybody who has questions for you, Mike, after we end this, if you want to go ahead and put your phone number in the chat section or the comment section
Yeah,
of the video,
absolutely.
so that anybody can call Mike if they're worried about that. If you have a new house that you want to have your basement just kind of looked at, give Mike a call. He's awesome, very reliable guy. He can also help you with your crawl space if you have crawl space issues. I had you look at somebody's crawl space about a month ago.
Mhm.
So call Mike. He's great. And thank you for joining me today, Mike.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me.
See you later.